Hi, and welcome back to the audio video room. I'm Christopher, and today we're going to do a short video on something I very rarely talk about, which is 45 RPM singles. I've spoken a little bit about 45 RPMs when I did my story on Fleetwood Mac and Rhino High Fidelity's Buckingham Nicks, and these both came in limited editions with 45s, you can see there. And the 45s were out of this world. I play these 45s probably more than I play these vinyls lately. The 45s, the Sonics by Kevin Gray, are phenomenal on these. Oh, there's a picture of Mick Fleetwood that I took back in the day when I was a photographer. But I tend to put tchotchkes in my records if I have like ticket stubs and stuff like that. So that's got that picture. Can you see that? Of Mick Fleetwood. But the 45 singles were phenomenal on these. I really wanted to get the other 45 singles that they had put out. T-Rex was one of them. I can't swing everything. So I focus on what I know I'm going to play a lot of and that I can afford. And when I did my recent story on Bob James, album 3, I discovered that there was something that I didn't own, and I ordered it because when I saw I didn't own it and I never knew it existed, I had to have it. So I'll open this up real quick. And what it is a 45 single that Bob James had done to promote, of all things, a movie in 1979. I had no idea this existed. That's why the internet is great. So I opened it up, and this is what it is Star Trek the Motion Picture by Bob James. 45 single recreation of the theme song from Star Trek the Motion Picture, which had come out in 1979. So Bob James was asked to do a cover and did. This was included as a promotional copy for the most part in the soundtrack to Star Trek the Motion Picture. So that's where I'm going to house this. I'm going to keep it with my soundtrack to Star Trek because that's how it would have come back in 1979. And it's got side A, the theme from Star Trek the Motion Picture, and side B is a Bob James standard on there. I want to thank you very much. And you can see that there. So I had to have this. I never knew this existed. It's on Columbia, and the label is Thai Zapan. And I was told that's a bridge in New York City, which has since been renamed. So thank you for leaving that comment about that. And here we go. This is the label. It's on that Columbia Blue label, and you can see that Tapan Z on the side there. And this is the main theme from Star Trek the Motion Picture. Now, you may be asking, what's that giant hole in the middle? Well, that is where you would put your adapter, kids. That giant hole in the middle is where you put the adapter. So if you're not familiar with 45 singles, you're under your new collector to the hobby, if you will, you put that 45 single adapter in the middle, that big giant hole, and then you can play it on your turntable. So you need one of these to be able to play one of these. So yeah, Bob James, Star Trek the Motion Picture. I'm very excited about that. I'm going to clean it and then re-sleeve it and give it a couple plays, but I'm super excited. And when I found this 45 single and where I was going to put it in my collection, I decided, well, let's talk about some other 45s that I have. I don't have a lot, but I do have some favorites in the 45 collection that I own. Now, aside from the Buckingham Nicks and the Bob James, I have this really cool, and this was put out on Death Waltz. Death Waltz was doing releases with Mondo. You can see Death Waltz and Mondo here on the back. And this was from an artist by the name of Pie Corner Audio. And this 45 245 set is called the Spiral. You can see it even has a gatefold like the Rhino High Fidelity, Buckingham Nicks, and Fleetwood Mac had. And the gatefold's just artwork. You can see that there, but it's really cool artwork. And Pie Corner Audio is a synthesizer production. So if you're a fan of John Harrison, say, who did Day of the Dead, Tangerine Dream, if you like John Carpenter, you'll be a fan of this. Giorgio Moroder, that sort of thing. So Pie Corner Audio is synth music like that, real mood repetition. And it comes in 2 sleeves. I've gone ahead and rehoused them in my poly sleeves. And I don't believe they're colored. Oh, they are colored. I forgot they're colored. So comes in this sleeve and then it's colored. Now I added these aftermarket sleeves, but you can see these don't need that 45 adapter because they've got that small punch hole in the middle. And so it is on red vinyl, and that is one of the two. And the other one in the blue sleeve, you can see the colored sleeves. And that is because they are colored differently out here. And this one is on yellow. And again, small hole in the middle, not that big circle like you saw on the Bob James. The Rhino High Fidelity also has that small circle. If there's a name for that, let me know because I just call them big hole, little hole, spindle hole. This is another cool one. I'm a fan of movie soundtracks, and you may have heard of a little film called Rambo. This is from Rambo 3. This is He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother by Bill Medley. This is on Scotty Brothers, and you can see that giant circle in that one. And again, I've rehoused it. Here's the outer sleeve. He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother, Rambo 3. And I believe that's on both sides. Let's take a look. Can't remember. It's been a minute since I played this one. He Ain't Heavy, He's My Brother. Yeah, same thing on both sides. So sometimes you'll get the same track on both sides. Probably also if it was, this is marked demonstration not for sale. So this, as a demonstration promo, may have been why that same song is on both sides. But sometimes that's good because one could be in better version than the other one. And again, I don't really collect 45s, but when I do get them, they're generally for something that I'm a huge fan of, whether it's a band or a movie soundtrack. This is an example of band related. Now, this was a record store day limited edition 7-inch. This is pressed on red vinyl. It features the rare track Key to the Highway, previously unavailable on the long out of print Japanese Main Offender CD by Keith Richards. So, this is Keith Richards' Key to the Highway and Hate It When You Leave on 45. And again, because this was a newer release, a record store day release, it's got that small punch hole for the vinyl, as you can see right here. There is the red vinyl and that small punch hole there. And I've gone ahead and cleaned all of these and then re-sleeved them in protective sleeves. But for the sake of argument, I will show you the back of this. Hate It When You Leave. Key to the Highway. I'm a huge Keith Richards fan. Um, this was put out by B.M.G. This was in 2020. So it's already been 6 years since this came out. But I'm a big Keith Richards fan. Often when I do have 45s, I will keep them with the albums, especially if it's an album I love, like Keith Richards' Main Offender is. And I try to re-sleeve them all. I need to order more sleeves for these, to be honest with you. Not everything has been re-sleeved. This was a promotional from Syntophantastique. This is the Omen. This is the theme from the Omen. Side A is Ava Satani, and side B is The Killer Storm. So if you're a soundtrack fan, if you're a horror movie soundtrack fan, this is from the film The Omen. There's the back of it. Now this one's in its shrink. I'm not sure how much glare you'll get, but that is in the shrink. And this was put out on Versi Sarabande, which still releases things to this very day. Cinefantastique was a horror science fiction movie magazine that came out. I bought it as a kid growing up in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I think it really kind of came to its most fame. There's a real famous John Carpenter movie cover for Cinefantastique, and that's really what got me hooked into that. But it's a great magazine if you're into horror movies and stuff. Here's another horror movie soundtrack. This is the themes from Zombie 2 in America, the Dawn of the Dead titled sequel from Lucio Fulci. I'm, again, a big fan of synth music, and this is from Fabio Frizzi. Two classic Fulci films, Zombie and The Beyond, and it's got some pretty cool artwork on that. Now, this one was put out by Ship to Shore, who does some great soundtrack releases. And Ship to Shore had this put out probably for a convention. And there is the vinyl. It's kind of green splattery on one side and purple and white splattery on the other side. That small center spindle. I'm a big Lucio Fulci fan, so this was an obvious get for me. Now you'll see a theme here: movie soundtracks, movie soundtracks. This is the sequel movie to Rocky Horror Picture Show. Had a lot of the cast, had a great soundtrack by Richard O'Brien, and Shock Treatment is the name of the single. Now, what makes this one super crazy is the 12-inch vinyl soundtrack has a different version of the theme song. The theme song that is on the 12-inch vinyl is a re recorded version. And the shock treatment on this 45 is the original studio movie recording. So I guess the soundtrack, when you watch it in the movie and he's singing it in the movie, it's this version. When you get the 12-inch vinyl and you hear the theme song Shock Treatment, it's a re-recorded version. They sound similar yet different. So that made this worth grabbing. Shock Treatment. And this is an older title. The movie did not do well when it came out, and so there's a lot of these kicking around, and you can find them relatively easy if you're a Rocky Horror Picture Show or Shock Treatment fan. And again, it says promotional, not for sale. You see that? Promotional, not for sale. I wonder what the story is behind all the movie stuff and promotional, not for sale. If they were sent out to radio stations, maybe, or anything to promote Shock Treatment as a sequel to Rocky Horror. And the back there, it says produced by Richard Hartley from the original soundtrack, Shock Treatment. But like I said, slightly different versions. Now, this is a relatively newer one. And when I saw this came out, I was kind of shocked at the price. And it was relatively expensive for what it is. It's the 45 single Return to Music from Billy Joel. Now, this was called Turn the Lights Back On. And you can see it's got that small center spindle again. So, Turn the Lights Back On, Columbia Press. And it's the same song on both sides, which was a bit of a bummer. I'm a huge Billy Joel fan, so I had to grab it. You'll read reviews online. The sound isn't that great. It is what it is. You don't buy it for the sound on this one. You really buy it for who's releasing it, which is Billy Joel. Comes with this. Did I wait too long to turn the lights back on? Billy Joel. Little card with some information on the back. Columbia Records again. It's got the lyrics, and 2024 was when this was released. And I got this from Billy Joel's website. I believe it's still available, but it's like $20 for the same song twice. I really wish he would have put a demo version on the other side, but it is what it is, and it's one from my collection. This is a neat one. This is Morrissey with Billy Joe Armstrong. This is Wedding Bell Blues on clear yellow vinyl. And this one, I'm a huge Morrissey fan. It's got Wedding Bell Blues and Brow of My Beloved on it. There is the classic Morrissey sleeve with the photo artwork that he seems to put on everything. This was 1992. This was released. And again, it's got Jesse Tobias on electric guitar, Boz Borer on intro guitar. So Roger Manning playing piano. So Jellyfish fans, Morrissey, Billy Joe Armstrong, Wedding Bell Blues. And that is on yellow vinyl. I believe this came out, like a lot of Morrissey stuff, on different colored vinyl. This is on Etienne Records. It's a great cover of that song, Wedding Bell Blues, from 62, I believe. And if you're a Morrissey fan, when we see these things out, we grab them. Or we come across them for relatively cheap, we grab them. I was involved with a few bands in Detroit. And let me get these arranged here. A few bands I knew put out 45s. There's more I have somewhere, but this was always one of my favorites. This was a band called the Fondas. And I took this photograph, and And I often worked with bands in the Detroit area, and offered my artwork or was hired directly for my artwork. Now, I did not take the back photo, but I did take the front photo. So this was my photo. They played at a bar called the Berkeley Front outside of Detroit. And this is Julie Benjamin, the lead singer. And she was a friend of mine. And I was really honored when they did this. Steve Shaw is in this band as well. And again, I didn't take the photo on the back, but I did take the photo on the front. And it says cover photo by Christopher Chenard, black and white photo by Jim Shaw. So one of the friends of the band, Jim Shaw, took that photo. So yeah, but I got the cover, and that's what counts. And this is on yellow vinyl, and you can see again, it's got that small center hole. And this is a great song. The Fondas were one of my favorite local Detroit bands, and this has got In Your Room and Make You Mine on it. And this was Sympathy for the Record Industry label, which had ties to Jack White, who's gone on to do great things with Third Man Records and all of that. So, got 2 copies of that. Got 3 copies of that. Got a black version. So this is the next one. This I stumbled across at a used record store. BDI. And who's BDI, you say? Well, BDI is essentially Oasis. Oasis after one of the 2 brothers left. And if you know the story of Oasis, the Gallagher brothers didn't always get along. And so older brother took off and Oasis was no more. So what does Oasis do? Well, Liam decides it's still a band and they're going to rename it BDI. So BDI is essentially Oasis with 1 less member. And this is a box set. This is a 7-inch box set. Has 3 7-inch singles of Bring the Light, 4-letter Word, and The Roller, plus exclusive UK B-sides not available on the album, digital downloads, poster, limited to 2,000 pieces. This turned out to be one of my favorite things I found out in the wild when I moved here to Texas. I'll show you what it's got. It's got a little download card that came with it with some artwork on it. It's got a fold out poster, and the fold out poster is this BDI, probably emulating for when they came on tour. Hopefully came on tour and they could put information on the bottom. But it's a BDI poster. It's it's neat. It's a freebie. I'm probably never going to hang it. But it is what it is. Goes in a box set like everything else. And then it comes with these. What does that remind you of? Other 4 lads from Liverpool. So clearly keeping on the theme of Beatles influences for BDI. And these are really great 45s with the flip back. Can you see that flip back on it? These are really well produced. 45 RPM, Bring the Light, Sons of the Stage. And if anybody knows about 45 RPM, they sound great. That's why some of us lean towards 45 RPM. See that little spindle hole? So 45 RPM, black vinyl. I'm not going to take them all out because it's just all black vinyl, but that's the one. So you can see there. I'll show you the covers. So you've got that. You've got, and again, these are all, I'll pop them out of here. Oh, look, I have the receipt. Are you one of those guys that holds on to receipts? Yeah, I got this for $20, which was a great buy. There's that box art. It's kind of got this little insert. So it's a thick box and they don't take up the whole box. But you've got the Roller and Two of a Kind. It's that one. And you can see on the back there, the Roller, Two of a Kind. Again, I've re-sleeved them. Maybe it's better if I do it like that. I've re-sleeved them. I put everything in protective cases when I can. I'm kind of low right now, so I need to get some more protective cases. And then the other one is 4-letter Word. And again, with that real Beatle-esque kind of art to it. But like you would imagine, the sonics on these, sonics on a 45 RPM, where the music is really given room to breathe, really takes you to the next level if you like these bands. Now, I got these recently from a friend of mine in Detroit that was selling parts of her collection. And she mentioned that she had some Black Rebel Motorcycle Club titles. So I quickly took those off of her hands. I am a huge Black Rebel Motorcycle Club fan. And I got Ain't No Easy Way, And you can see that's got Ain't No Easy Way and Grind My Bones on it. And these are on RCA. And these are all, I believe these are all black vinyl. And you can see that small center as well. These are on RCA. There's the one side, there's the other side. And when sometimes when I'm getting ready in the morning and I'm in a rush to go to work, but I still want to listen to a record, I feel like my day's not complete unless I listen to a record. I'll often grab some 45s. This is Rifles Awake, Spread Your Love, and At My Door. This one's still sealed. I haven't opened this one yet, but I plan to once I get another sleeve for it. This one is Red Eyes and Tears, Screaming Gun, As Sure as the Sun, and White Palms. And this is 2001. This one is 2001. And then No Easy Way, 2005. So 2001 and 2005 there. So Black Rebel Motorcycle Club, big fan, big fan. Some Detroit bands, yep. Raconteurs, Broken Boy Soldier. And that is Broken Boy Soldier. And heading for the Texas border. Boy, who knew? I would be heading for the Texas border myself. And that is got that classic 45 hole there. See that? And so, as you can imagine, these sound very well. Jack White's very keen on his releases sounding well. This is the Dead Weather. I have, boy, the Dead Weather. Look at my White Stripes story. I have some stories about Jack White. Dead Weather stole one of my T-shirt designs. Hang You from the Heavens, and this is already when he was doing much better, and he had Third Man Records, and then you can see the Third Man Records logo there. So that is the Dead Weather. And then this is another Raconteurs, Broken Boy Soldier. I believe they had a relatively good sized hit with this one, Broken Boy Soldier. And then the Raconteurs, and this is G. The last one was F. They're numbered probably for their releases. They numbered them. You guys can leave me a comment if you know that they were all given different letters. This one has G. On Broken Boy Soldier. This is a local band from Detroit again that I really always like called The Go. The Go were a really popular band on a local level. And you can see this is an illustration from Westworld with Yul Brynner that was used. And this is Your Stoned Italian Cowboy and Invisible Friends. Invisible Friends is a great song. So if you ever want to know what the Go sound like, look up some Go music because they're really phenomenal and have quite a cult following, especially outside of the US. They always sold out their shows in Detroit and always had all the coolest kids at the Go concerts. And again, Jack White affiliated, but this was on Cass Records. That's that label there, and 45 RPM as usual. With a lot of Detroit bands put out a lot of singles, so a lot of times when you go to concerts, they would have singles at the shows that you could buy, so you could collect stuff as you went to all these concerts. Okay, and the last thing that I have is something my brother sent me, and it was a magazine. I believe it's Italian or German. I think it's German, and it had a story on the White Stripes. And again, I was friendly with Meg, so and I was shooting some of their concerts when I could, and it's got a cool story on them and some cool photos. Picture of Meg. Meg is the coolest. She's just the coolest. But in this Rolling Stone, this foreign edition of Rolling Stone, you got this. And this is We're Going to Be Friends and Seven Nation Army from 2005. And that was a Rolling Stone insert that you've got there. And this was an exclusive inserted into the magazine. And then this is the vinyl on the Rolling Stone label of the White Stripes. 2 tracks there that you got free when you bought that. So that's just some of my 45s that I've collected. To bring it back to Bob James, kind of got me off on a tangent, and I forgot how much I love these little buggers. So from time to time, I'll pick them up, but I'll only pick them up if I'm going to play them. a fair amount. And everything I've just shown you, I've played a fair amount because I really love them. And that's where 45s come into my life. I'm generally only going to pick up 45s if it's a song I really like or a band I love and I stumble across it. So that's the AV room for today. I hope you enjoyed looking at some 45s. Like and subscribe, leave a comment. What's your favorite 45? Do you collect 45s? And we will see you next time here in the AV room.